it's your best friend's favorite guitar teacher here. Today I'm gonna get you playing the 8 fundamental guitar chords before you even put the guitar down, so let's not waste any time. The 8 fundamental chords we'll be looking at in this video will be A major, A minor, C major, D major, E minor, E major, E minor, and G major. So, tune up your guitar, let's get ready. Because I'm your best friend's favorite guitar teacher, I've included a few short play-alongs at the end of this video so you can play along with me. We'll go nice and slow. Let's look at the A major chord. In order to play this, I personally use pinky, ring, and middle finger, but I have seen people use ring finger, middle finger, and index finger. It's about what's comfortable for you. I have pretty large fingers, so it's difficult to cram 3 fingers into 1 fret. That's why I prefer to use my pinky. It's a little bit smaller, and it also makes transitions to A minor a little bit easier, in case that's necessary. So what you're going to do is, you're going to start pinky, 2nd fret of the B string, ring finger, 2nd fret of G, and middle finger, 2nd fret of D, and you're going to strum down from your A string. You have an A major chord. There we go. So let's quickly practice that one together. It's important when learning chords like these to learn your fingers in a stacking pattern rather than placing them down as one shape. That can be very difficult to learn. It's a little bit easier to pinky, ring, middle, and then play. So that's one thing to bear in mind. Also, make sure that your wrist is not rotating in that fashion or that fashion. We would like a pretty stable wrist where the strings are touching just below the nail on the very tip of my fingers. Alright, so how do we practice chords easily? Place your fingers down, play the chord, make sure it's clean, take your fingers off, place them back down, play the chord, make sure it's clean, take them back off, and so forth. Continue practicing your chords in that fashion. On to the A minor chord. This is a great chord to play. And it also makes a very easy transition to the next chord we're going to learn. So if you take a look at my A minor chord, and we move over to C major, you can see in those 2 instances, my middle finger and my index finger have stayed in the same place. So those are what we call anchor fingers, and they exist because guitar is awesome, and it wants you to learn easily. So how do we play an A minor chord? Take your index finger, 1st fret of the B string, middle finger, 2nd fret of D, ring finger, 2nd fret of G, and you're playing down from the A string. Right, similar to the previous chord, we're going to take our hand off the fretboard, place it back down for that chord, make sure it's clean. Perfect, take it back off, place it back down, strum through, make sure it's clean. Also vital that your strumming hand is playing the correct strings, so make sure in this case that you are not hitting the low E string for this chord. On to C major. We briefly looked at this chord now, but I do need you to practice this as its own individual chord as well. I don't want you to fall into a bad habit where I need to position my fingers in A minor before I can go to C so that I can get the anchor fingers. It's important to learn this chord as a chord on its own. So how you're going to play this? Ring finger, 3rd fret of the A string, middle finger, 2nd fret of the D string, skip 1 string, index finger, 1st fret of the B string, and you're going to play down from the A string all 5 through. Now I'm going to give you an opportunity again to practice the chord. So let's take our hand off, place our fingers back down, make sure it's clean. Perfect. Same thing again, take it off, place them back down. That's it. Keep doing that a few times, keep repeating until you've built up a little bit of muscle memory and you can remember the shape. The D major. Or as I like to teach it sometimes, the triangle chord, because your fingers form a little triangle on the fretboard, or if you're looking at the chord chart, it definitely looks like a little triangle. So how you play this? Index finger, 2nd fret of the G, middle finger, 2nd fret of the high E, and your ring finger, 3rd fret of B, and you're playing down from the D string. Again, it's very important, especially with chords like these, that we make sure we're not hitting the 2 strings that are not required for this chord, making sure we're starting on the D string. Alright, so I'm going to give us an opportunity to practice that one quickly. So let's place the fingers back down. Strumming down, making sure it's clean. Take your hand off. Let's place it back. Make sure it's clean. One more time. Take it off. Place it back. Make sure it's clean. Perfect. There we go. Okay, D minor. This one can be a little tricky to play, but you'll get this in no time. Very simple fingering. Take your index finger, first fret of the E string, middle finger, second fret of G, and ring finger, third fret of B, and again playing down from the D string. There's your D minor chord. I'm going to give you the opportunity to practice finger placement again. Off the fretboard, back on, from the D string down, hand off, back on, from the D string down, make sure it's nice and clean. Then again, hand off, back on, making sure it's nice and clean. Alright, E major. Every guitar player's favorite chord. How are you going to play this? Index finger, first fret of G, middle finger, second fret of A, ring finger, second fret of D, all 6 strings. You've got an E major chord. So, massive implications with this chord later down the line as we start taking that shape, moving it up and down the fretboard for bar chords. So it's important to learn this shape and get used to playing it so that we can transition into bar chords easier later on. I would also like you to notice how the E major chord and the A minor chord look exactly the same in terms of shape. So it's literally just a strings difference of moving them up and down. So you learn one shape and you know 2 chords. That's because the guitar is easy and wants you to learn it. Okay, now your opportunity to practice this chord. Place your E major down, strum through, make sure it's clean, take it off, place it back, strum through, make sure it's clean, take it off, place it back. There we go. On to E minor, or as my younger students call it, the Spider-Man chord. So you're going to take your middle finger, second frets of the A string, and your ring finger, second frets of D, all 6 strings again. You got an E minor chord. Very simple to play. Now your opportunity to practice it. Hand off the fretboard, place it back, strum through. Hand off the fretboard, place it back, strum through. Hand off the fretboard again, one last time, place it back and strum through. Finally, G major. So this one can be a little bit of a challenge because of how the fingers are stretching. You've got 2 at the bottom of the fretboard and you've got 2 at the top of the fretboard. It's important with chords like these that you make sure you are using that part of your finger right there to play the chord, not the front and not the very, very tip right under the nail. What you essentially want to happen, so when you're playing a chord like that, you can see if I turn in this fashion, my fingers come straight off the fretboard, bending at the first joint. If we don't do that, our fingers lay flat and we get sounds like these in our chords. And that's something that we would like to avoid. So how do we play a G major chord? Pinky finger, third frets of the E string, ring finger, third frets of B, and all the way at the top, middle finger, third frets of the E string, and then index finger, second frets of B, and you strum all the way through. There is also an alternate way to play this, and that is going to be ring finger, third frets of the thin E string, middle finger, third fret of the thick E string, and then index finger, second fret of the A string, and that sounds like this. But I do prefer to teach students the 4-finger method from the start. That way we are already working on dexterity in the hands, and we are just getting used to a bigger chord. In addition to that, G to D has that finger as an anchor if we play it with 4 fingers. So it also makes chord transitions a little bit easier. Alright, your opportunity now to practice. Let's place the fingers down. Remember, with chords, it's easier to stack fingers than to place one shape. So especially with a G chord, starting with a pinky, stacking like that. So placing down these 2 fingers first and then moving on to the 2 at the top. So let's place it down. Make sure you're getting all the notes out. Take it back off, let's place it down again. Sounds clean, take it back off, one last time, place it down. There we go, and that's your G chord. Now, a good routine for practicing chords, especially new chords, as you're learning them, is to spend about 5 to 10 minutes just placing it down, playing it, taking your hand off, and replacing. So in this case, spend about 20 to 30 minutes practicing all 8 chords that we just learned, and that's going to help your brain memorize positions for where the chords exist on the fretboard, and that way we can start stringing them together to create transitions. So once you've memorized the chord shapes, we'll try some different transitions together. Practice the chords individually every day, then come back, play along to the backing tracks, learn your transitions. Make sure that you're positioning your fingers correctly, especially when learning the chords as individual chords. Make sure that you're sitting comfortably and your posture is correct. And if need be, just revisit the portion in this video for the chord that you're struggling with. Remember, guitar playing isn't a race, but we've just put nitrous in your tank, so you're going to get through the marathon a whole lot faster. So for the play-alongs, we're simply going to play 4 downstrokes per chord, and then 8 downstrokes for the last chord in the progression to make a total of 16. So it'll look something like this. Etc., etc. I will pop the chord diagrams on screen so that everybody can see. Let's play along.